quickly, even though he is 3-0 now, so I'm sure he's perfectly happy with winning so fast. But we do have another backup match here for you. Andrew Tenjum on your left. He is playing Jund versus Erik Larson on your right, playing Bant Control. Looks very much like the...
this is the Prime Speaker build.
Yeah, very, very close to a Sperling Wrightslow Brew. He's got a little more Planeswalkers than they did, however.
Yep.
As we do have Tenjum up a game here on the left playing Jund. His Jund deck, very, very traditional. You know, it's got your creatures in Thragtusk, Cut Match of the Fells, Olivia, and a couple Arbor Elves, and it's got, of course, your bunch of removal, varied with Bonfire of the Damned, Tragic Slip, Abrupt Decay, Victim of Night, Dreadbore, Mizium Mortars, and a Murder. And he's got your Planeswalkers and 3 Garruk Primal Hunter, so nothing too crazy and new going on here, but he's going to need to find some black mana to get that ship sailing, but he does have a Dragon Skull Summon, so he's okay.
And this is a problem, certainly, that the Jund deck has when it doesn't have an accelerant. It's often not really starting the game until turn 4. So the plan here is so much to go. Well, I have Arbor Elf or Farseek. I can have a Huntmaster and Olivia, whatever, on my 3rd turn. But when you don't have those accelerants or your accelerant gets killed, you often see what's happening right now.
Yeah, just a little bit of land go, and this certainly favors Erik, I think. You know, he does have a Thragtusk here. If that would have been a Garruk Primal Hunter, it would have been much more backbreaking. But if we're going to play draw go the entire time, the deck that has the Sphinx's Revelation, probably a little bit happier.
Yep.
As Tenjum is going to play a Woodland Cemetery for his turn. We'll see what 5-mana threat he has. If it's going to be a Beast fight, well, there's going to be Beast coming to play, but it's going to be a Garruk Primal Hunter for Tenjum. And we're going to see that tick up, and we're going to see that become a Beast. And that die is going to tick up to 4, not 5.
Although Erik actually only has 1 Revelation in his deck. So it's not like most Bant Control decks that have a bunch of those. There's no guarantee he finds one in the game. Which makes a little bit of sense to me. I know at this point 3 or 4 Revelations is just considered basically required. But when your deck has so many 5 and 6 and 7 mana, 4, 5, 6 mana spells in it, it's not actually that efficient to be revelating a bunch. And Prime Speaker fills some of that role as well. So we see Detention Sphere take out the token. Thragtusk takes out Garruk. Now Erik, I believe, living up Dissipate mana for whatever the follow-up here is. I believe
this is worthy of a Dissipate.
I think that Rakdos returns probably worth dissipating there, so I like that play from Erik.
Definitely worthy of a Dissipate, as Erik is going to untap. He's going to draw. You see a Restoration Angel in his hand. There's a Supreme Verdict hanging out in there as well. As the old Thragtusk is going to come across. And is it a Prime Speaker time? Yes!
Oh, it's prime time.
5 cards? 6/6?
That's a combo. That is a combo.
Now, this is the thing that makes this deck very appealing, as you see all those cards get drawn there. Thragtusk and Jace, Architect of Thought among them. If you can get this to happen, this is a very good deck. How consistently can you get it to happen? That's a better question.
Sure. I think it probably has a lot of the same problems that most Farseek decks have, is your curve and all the cards you're playing are sculpted around Farseeking. When you don't have it, you're probably not terribly efficient. But Thragtusk and Smiter, those kind of cards, definitely give you the kind of breathing space you need to land Prime Speaker, even if you don't necessarily have a Farseek. As we see Olivia come down for Andrew.
Now, we've seen Olivia turn games around by itself before.
Asking a lot out of after we just ripped 6.
And there's a Detention Sphere as well. I think that may have been his draw for the turn, but
what are the odds you found an answer? Yeah. Unbelievable.
Either way, Olivia Alderan is going to go to detention. A little after-school studies, perhaps. As you see Andrew considering maybe shooting something here with the ability, and that's the best that he can do for this turn. Yeah, crazy to have an answer there. So lucky.
Yeah.
After drawing it.
What are the odds? Yeah. I think we have a Restoration Angel too.
Yeah. You know, the big thing about the Prime Speaker Bant deck, whatever take you want to have it on it, if you want to go more Sperling or Wrightslow, if you want to be like Erik Larson, have some more Planeswalkers, is that if you can get Prime Speaker established, if you can get Thragtusk established, maybe start Restoration Angeling. This deck, the things that this deck can do are crazy with how powerful it can be. The big question is, can you get to that point in a game? Will an Esper or a Blue-Red Flash deck allow you to resolve those spells? Will a Naya Blitz deck not kill you in time? Can you defend yourself against that deck? Will a Jund deck be able to resolve a Rakdos return against you, which we saw that get dissipated? That's the question. I think in a perfect world, I think this deck could be very good if those things are allowed to happen.
Yes.
As you see, it's Rakdos here from Andrew. He's going to gain a bunch of life, but we know, as you said, Patrick, Erik does have a Restoration Angel. And what do I want to bling? The choice is yours and yours alone. And when you're choosing Thragtusk over Prime Speaker Zagana,
I think we're probably just going for a lethal.
Yeah, that's what that feels like, as he would prefer to have another 3/3 beast, and Tenjum is going to scoop the game up. So Erik Larson is going to win game number 2, saying, I don't need 5 more cards.
Nope.
I'm good.
Did not need it.
Yeah, I got all that I need here. So we'll take a look at sideboards here. I got Tenjum, and he's going to be on the play first. You take a look, you see 2 Underworld connections, a Vraska the Unseen, a Tragic Slip, Golgari Charm, 2 Ground Seal, 2 Duress, a 4th Bonfire of the Damned in his sideboard, 2 Slaughter Games, a Rakdos Return, and 2 Pillar of Flame. Now the thing about this Prime Speaker Bant deck, or Bant Control, however you want to label it, is that it's kind of diverse in what it's trying to do. You know, if you want to try to board in Slaughter Games against it, and you're looking for Sphinx's Revelation, there's only one.
Yep.
You know, are you going to take the time to name maybe Thragtusk? You know, because then they can just beat you via card advantage, and maybe Prime Speaker Zagana. Are you going to name Planeswalker? So Slaughter Games doesn't feel like it's at its best here. Bonfire of the Damned also doesn't feel like it's at its best here. It's not a swarm deck. You know, so what kind of angle attack do you want to take? Do you want to try to keep, you know, on cards with it? Because there are 2 Underworld connections here, but this deck certainly draws cards better than your deck does.
Yeah, I think that you need to be pretty streamlined and pretty aggressive. I'm not a huge fan of Slaughter Games here just because, like you mentioned, the Bant deck has so many angles of attack. This is very diversified. He has a lot of ways to sort of arbitrarily win the game once he's kind of gotten ahead on the board a little bit and he's comfortable. You can Slaughter Games, Prime Speaker, and still just lose to Thragtusk Restoration Angel.
Yeah, we've seen that many times.
Thragtusk defending your Planeswalkers. Yep. That's still a thing that can happen. So I wouldn't go out of my way here to Slaughter Games.
No home runs in the sideboard is basically the point. There's a lot of cards here. They do a lot of different things, but there is no real home run. Maybe we'll see a card like Vraska the Unseen come in, maybe to generate an advantage that we don't see very often.
I like the Underworld connections okay, and I like the Golgari Charm as well. Those are the cards that strike me as being good. On the other side, Erik Larson has the ability to side into 3 copies of Dissipate, which we saw at least 1 copy of. He has a Witchbane Orb, which is traditionally very good against Jund, and an additional Detention Sphere if he wants it, and 2 copies of Acidic Slime, which I also believe are good here. Number 1, Jund is a pretty mana-hungry deck, especially since one of its haymakers in the matchup is Rakdos Returns. And secondly, you can reasonably expect a lot of Jund lists to have Underworld connections in their sideboard, and Acidic Slime is clearly a very good answer to that as well. So Slime has taken on a lot of popularity in Junk Reanimator matchups. Going on the Stone Rain plan is pretty awesome because the deck's so mana hungry. It's a great reanimation target, a great blocker, and when I see that deck play against decks like Jund, the Acidic Slime still seems very good there. So I would not be surprised to see Erik go to those as well.
All right, we will see game number 3 here momentarily for you guys. If you are just joining us, we do appreciate it. Cedric Phillips, Patrick Sullivan. We are here in breezy but beautiful Milwaukee, Wisconsin. If you guys do want to join in the chat with us at SCG Live, hashtag SCGMKE. Pat doesn't have a Twitter, but I do.
Yeah.
And I'll be checking it for you during the duration of our broadcast over these 2 days. So interact with us. Talk about the spoilers with us. Talk about Grand Prix Miami, that huge announcement. Are you guys going to be attending? What's it going to take for you guys to attend? Do you like the new tokens? All that good stuff. Join in with us. Do you like that Patrick does not have a token? I'm in the camp of liking that, but maybe you may not be. As we do see both players taking a look at their open 7 here for game number 3. Looks like they're both happy. Tenjum's going to start off with an Overgrown Tomb. Larson has a Hinterland Harbor, so it looks like he might have one of those hands that has a lot of those lands and none of the Ravnica dual lands.
And normally you want to be Rav Duel on 1 and M10 Duel on 2.
Breeding Pool is going to fix that problem, so Erik has drawn out of it, it looks like, as Andrew just has a Stomping Ground and Overgrown Tomb. We'll see what his 3rd land is going to be. You see an Overgrown Tomb in his hand and some removal spells. You know, the longer the game goes, it feels like it plays much better into Larson's hands.
Oh yeah, I think Andrew, there's a lot of pressure on him to be aggressive in this matchup. I really don't like these starts. I can't see his hand, so I don't know what his opening looked like, but I'm really troubled, you know, from Andrew's side watching his starts here, just nothing. Probably just a bunch of reactive spells, I would imagine.
Yeah, and there's your first one, Invictive of Night, to take care of that Lockstone Smiter. You know, the Jund deck does have a lot of creature removal. and then it gets his threats online in turn 4, turn 5, and turn 6, and Huntmaster, Olivia, and Thragtusk. But it really needs to start putting some pressure, because if you play reactive, as we do see in Olivia Valdarin, you're going to get buried in the card advantage that the band control deck can generate. So Andrew is going to start threatening some damage here while also being able to, take care of Eric's creatures. So certainly a good start.
You see Witchbane Orb, Thragtusk, and Gideon, Champion of Justice.
Hey-aw. Gideon, a card that we will bring up on the screen for you. Don't see it a ton. It's not a card, it's a card that when it was first released, you kind of look at it and you go, well, how good can this thing be? It's kind of obscure. Never really seen a card like this before.
I think that you are going to see a lot more of this creature, a lot more of this Planeswalker when we start talking about block, and likely when we start talking about standard next year. Yep.
It fills a weird hole that may not be necessary right now in standard, but moving forward, it's very likely that it will be. I'm really interested to see what its impact will be on block constructed, as you said.
Yeah. There's a Witchbane Orb. Devastating against Andrew's Rakdos Return in hand.
Yep. So there will be no Slaughter Games, no Rakdos returning, not even Bonfire of the Damned is allowed here due to the Witchbane Orb. But Olivia still can't attack. It doesn't say the attackers aren't allowed. So Larson is going to move down to 17, and we'll see what Andrew's follow-up is going to be. And it looks like it's just going to be a Farseek. It is.
Stanky.
So he's just going to be able to search our land. You just see him slide by an Underworld Connections that he did sideboard in. So we were wondering if maybe those did come in, and you just see that both copies are in his deck right now. He's going to search out a land. But more importantly here, Patrick, it looks like he does have both copies of Rakdos Return in his hand and are shut off by that Witchbane Orb. So good play there by Larson.
Does he have any removal for that orb anywhere in the 75? I guess Vraska if he brought it in.
Yeah, that looks like that's it. And you're going to see an Overgrown Tomb and pass the turn back.
I mean, I'd have to assume he brought in Vraska here. It's like, looks, if it's not good in this matchup, I don't know what matchup it's supposed to be good in.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, I would assume that did come in. Just Supreme Verdict is the draw here for Erik, so he can just trade 1-for-1 here. Verdict for the Olivia if he wants to. I mean, 17 life does have a healthy amount of time, but Olivia can threaten to shoot and then take something. So
Larson's hand's so powerful here that it's very creature-oriented and powerful. I wouldn't be surprised to see him Supreme Verdict here, but I think that Hallowfound on tap means we're just going to be playing a Thragtusk. Where are we leaving up?
It just feels like, man, that Hallowfound gave him a second white.
Oh, it's double white.
Yeah,
okay, sure.
It gave him a second white, so you see him considering Supreme Verdict or Gideon right now. And which one does he want to establish? And it looks like he's going to go with the Gideon. Is he going to pull the trigger? Okay, so he is. So Gideon Champion Justice is going to come into play. He's going to tick it up, and Olivia can't shoot anything right now.
Right. Under normal circumstances, that would be a risk. This would be a somewhat risky play. But given that Witchbane Orb is in play, it covers a lot of ways that Andrew would have to finish off that Gideon. The big risk here is just Kessig Wolf Run. That's the one card that makes that sequence look pretty bad. But
it looks like Tenjum doesn't have it again. You do see at least one Rakdos return in his hand. I think both copies are in there. You're going to see Olivia attack Gideon, and this is not the best battle to be had. For each creature target opponent controls. So it starts on 4, it should move up to 5, and then I'm pretty sure that Gideon should be on 2 now.
No, it went to 6. It went to 6.
It went up to 6?
It gets +1 and then an additional +1
gotcha.
for each group.
Gotcha.
Gideon's plus power is a little awkward in that respect.
Yeah. A little wonky. But we do have it right, so it's going to move up again here. So +1 and +1 to use that ability and +1 to check.
Yep.
Gotcha. So up to 5 now. You see Larson does have a Restoration Angel. You see a Supreme Verdict as well. And the big thing he just needs to decide is how do I want to navigate this game. I don't have to worry about a card like Rakdos Return now. There are no counter spells. Yes, my creatures can die, so I have to play them in such a way that maybe I let my Restoration Angel go. But I do just want to get this Olivia off the board here, clear things up. So you're going to see Supreme Verdict take care of that. You do see a Golgari Charm over there in Tenjum's hand.
Yeah, that's probably worth using your charm here, I would assume.
Yeah.
It's not getting any better.
So looks like we're going to see that Golgari Charm get cast. Regeneration mode on the old G Charm.
good against both Supreme Verdict and Detention Sphere.
Yep.
So not a bad card to have.
Wish this card saw more play. Good charm. All three modes are good on this card. So we're going to see Olivia come across to that Gideon. And this is exactly what, if you're a Larson, this is what you want to happen.
Yeah, how much life has that Gideon been worth so far?
Yeah, this is perfect. He has to keep attacking this. He can't ever really get it dead. And it's just giving you so many draw steps to be able to find answers to just this one problem card in Olivia while having yourself defended against, targeted things because of Witchbane Orb. As we're going to see that Breeding Pool come to play untapped, and Larson is just going to pass the turn back. So Tenjum's going to draw a card. Does have 2 Rakdos returns that he can't cast and draws a Dragon Skull summon. So just flooding out here, looking for a card like a Thragtusk or a Huntmaster of the Fells to turn things around, as Gideon's going to go down to 1 now. And now we have a Sphinx's Revelation here for 3, a baby revelation.
Yep. Now, I mean, we're at this point now where Erik basically just needs to find an answer for the Olivia.
Yeah.
Gideon and Thragtusk Restoration Angel can easily take the game over from there.
And if you're Erik, you know that Andrew does have 2 cards in his hand. You might not be 100% sure what they are, but you can either you can deduce basically that either it's a backup Olivia, a removal spell, or something that he can't target me with. So you can probably deduce what he does have in his hand.
Yeah. You can safely rule out cards like Thragtusk right now. The problem is that, from Erik's side, he can't really play any creatures right now.
What do we have here?
Staff of Nim, I believe. He's got a Singleton.
You nailed it. That's a promo staff in it. I've never seen that before. Look at you.
No.
F&M?
Don't know.
All
Probably
right.
not if it's a rare. Probably box promo or game day, something or other would be my guess.
Way to be on it, though. Proud of you.
So Gideon down after 5 turns of attacks or what have you.
So we see
Erik is up infinite cards, but he's just randomly kind of blocked by Olivia right now. He has to find some answer to this before he can really proceed with the rest of his hand.
We didn't think that Golgari Charm was going to be that great. He's just like, I guess I have to trade this for your Supreme Verdict, but it turns out that it's pretty good right now. And Staffinen does shoot Andrew at end of turn, and he's going to draw 2 cards here. So Erik is going to try to bury him in card advantage while finding an answer for Olivia, but his life total is going to start to be under duress a little bit here, as Thragtusk and Olivia do provide a pretty gosh darn good clock.
Yeah. We have another Gideon we can play, but not to much of effect.
Yeah, this one's a lot worse than the previous one. One, 2. It's got 4 mana tap.
Ladies and gentlemen,
It looks like he is going to play Gideon as basically a fog here.
please make your way over to the side.
He might not even get the fog.
Yeah.
This thing might just get ignored.
Yeah, I think ignoring it is almost certainly worth it here. Because we're going to see some shots here. You got to be careful how many times you shoot with this Olivia. He's going to shoot once, and it looks like he may have just realized that, because if he shoots twice, he can finish it off with the staff in him. I think it's worth it to finish it off with the staff.
Yeah.
Think so?
Yeah, oh yeah.
3-3 instead of a 5-3?
It looks like Erik's pausing here.
Yep, he is going to finish it off. Okay. So yes, he will get a Beast Token here, but it makes a Supreme Verdict that Erik could draw into a lot better now.
Yep. And, I know that, and we have the same. We have actually less power in play than we would have had otherwise.
Yep. So you do see the 2 counters there on Olivia and the Beast Token here. Tenjum draws a card, couldn't quite make out what it is. Again, we do know that there are 2 Rakdos returns there in his hand that are not going to do anything unless he does draw a Vraska, and Thragtusk is the draw for the turn, so he is drawing into some creatures here to try to finish this game off with.
Now I would definitely just play Thragtusk and shoot twice. Your cover is down.
Yep. Make that Olivia a little bit bigger. But in we come for 5, 6, 7, 8. And it looks like he's not ignoring the Gideon. I'm a little bit surprised by that too.
Yeah, you're really multiple turns away from that Gideon being meaningful.
Yeah. So we see another Thragtusk. Andrew going to gain 5 more life and just pass the turn back. Staffinen's going to allow Erik to draw 2 cards. You see a Detention Sphere. So finally an answer for that annoying Olivia. Eric just have to be a little bit scared here that maybe Andrew, has like an abrupt decay in his hand or something like that could take care of that. But I think he does have to pull the trigger. And now you're going to see him pull the trigger finally on some of his real creatures here. He's tapping 5 mana, and he's going to lead off with a Thragtusk.
Yep. And you had to wonder how much Andrew gave up by fighting over these Gideons the last however many turns.
In come the Thragtusk and the Beast token almost immediately. And it looks like Erik has no interest in blocking, which if you're Andrew, you probably know what that means.
Writing is on the wall there.
Yep. And now another Thragtusk off the top.
So that's fine. Erik, obviously that's a fine draw for Andrew, but Erik is pretty comfortable as long as the Witchbane Orb doesn't get blown up or the Detention Sphere doesn't get blown up. He's pretty happy with Andrew drawing cards like that. His hand's very well equipped to handle just random Thragtusks and Huntmasters.
So we will see the Staffing End ping there from Larson on the end step. He's going to untap 2 more cards here. Now the card advantage is starting to swell. Temple Garden and a second Temple Garden are the draws. Now the Restoration Angels can come out to play. Now we can get into Prime Speaker Zagana land. You see the Garruk Primal Hunter in his hand as well. I think he can go Garruk and Restoration Angel this turn, and that's almost too much to come back from.
Yeah.
So Sun Petal Grove is the play. You see Larson going to separate his lands a little bit here. Make sure that he doesn't make any missteps. Garruk Primal Hunter is going to come on in. Likely going to tick on up. So put a Beast token into play. Just kind of clear some of these Thragtusk out of the way. And he's just going to pass the turn back. Maybe risking a little bit here by not playing Restoration Angel right away. But I think he feels kind of comfortable with the position that he's in.
Yep.
You do see that Rakdos return all 3. 3 of a kind. It's a good poker hand.
Yeah. And now Andrew's in the spot where the writing's on the wall. We're almost certainly looking at Restoration Angel here, but
yeah.
SCG Open competitors as
So now we're going to see Resto Besto with Thragtusk
combo.
There's your Beast token, there's your 5 life. You see the other Beast token going to clear out 1/2 of a Thragtusk as Garruk is going to move on down to 1. But Erik is slowly but surely taking over this game through his card advantage engines. And this is the big thing about the Ban Control deck, is if it can get these engines online, it is certainly a dominant deck. The big question is, can they get the engines online? And it took Erik a little while this game because of Olivia Valderin, but once he finally found a Detention Sphere, you see the Staffin' End powering up his hand, you see the combinations of Thragtusk and Restoration Angel, and you also just see the Garruk Primal Hunter just looming.
Yeah. That one Witchbane Orb is a good one.
It's weird with Witchbane Orb, it's so good. When it is good, as we see right now, it blanking those 3 Rakdos returns, potentially blanking Slaughter Games, Bonfire of the Damned if they're still in his deck. It's a card I almost feel like you want to play like 2 or 3 copies of, because when it's good, it's great. But the second one is so bad that you just can't afford to play a bunch of them.
It's also not going to be good in 100% of the games.
Yeah.
And you're drawing a ton of cards too, which...
Now here's a Farseek from Andrew.
Makes more sense to have it sort of as a singleton bullet than a bunch of... I'd rather just be drawing a bunch of cards and playing blanket answers like Dissipate and Detention Sphere, and then having 1 orb as just sort of a nice misers, than having like 3 orbs and not a bunch of the other cards.
Yeah. That's what you've seen a lot of players adopt.
Right.
Is that strategy and that philosophy.
Because if you sideboard into 3 Witchbane Orbs and your opponent just goes Farseek, Olivia, Thragtusk, and you have these Witchbane Orbs in your hand, it's not where you want to be. Yeah.
You want to up.
So we're going to see Thragtusk straight.
Thragtusk are going to trade off. You're going to see Restoration Angel blink the Thragtusk, so not trading off
Mondo combo.
You see, it's a combo deck.
It's a combo deck.
So you do this, and then you do that, and then your opponent can't win.
Yeah.
But they're creatures, so it's fine. So Erik is going to take a draw here. Glacial Fortress and Hollow Fountain.
It's actually kind of out of action. Just a guy Detention Sphere and lands. I mean, by out of action, I mean he's got 1,000 power. In
Yeah, I
play
was gonna say, ignoring the things that are in
commanding
play.
position, but
Yeah. It's too bad he doesn't have more spells to cast. So let's see how Erik does want to attack this turn, because now at this point it's all about just converting and trying to get this game over with and not losing to something ridiculous Andrew can draw. What is that ridiculous spell he can draw?
I kind of like swinging with everything except for Thrag Tusk. All right, a little more conservative.
A little conservative, yeah. I think Erik's probably running through his head, what are the ridiculous spells that Andrew can draw to kind of beat me? Not sure what they are. I mean, the Beast Tokens trade.
It basically has to be the orb gets blown up and then Bonfire. That has to be the sequence.
So it starts with Vraska the Unseen then.
Yep.
You see Garrett take up the 3, Beast Token come into play. There's your Temple Guard, and there's a turn pass back. Andrew's going to draw a card. It's an Overgrown Tomb.
Pings with Staff.
2 cards coming. Farseek. Hinterland Harbor. And he could draw 5 more cards if he wanted to right now via Garrett Primal Hunters -3 ability, but I think he's happy. I think it might be. Is it that time?
I would Alpha.
Doesn't agree. Still conservative. Fractus going to trade off here. See some more damage come across. Taking the conservative route is we're going to see a Farseek, but no real issue with that. Temple Garden, just pass the turn back. He is giving Andrew a little bit of time. Andrew is, you know, he's like on a 2 or 3% or something of that nature, as he does draw an Olivia Voldaren. All right, so
it's not a horrible draw.
It's not the worst draw. It does have a Detention Sphere at the ready for it, though.
Yeah.
As you guys do see Witchbane Orb on the screen. So there's Olivia. As much as it does want to try to take this game over, bad news bears.
Yeah, I mean, we have Olivia plus the requisite 7 mana.
Yeah.
Would be all right if not for the Detention Sphere. At this point, it's pretty reasonable to assume Erik has some answer to that card in his hand.
Would like to assume to see Andrew's going to stop Erik in his upkeep. Wants to shoot some stuff. Shoot and take. So as we do see Andrew do this, you know, how do you feel about the Prime Speaker Bant deck moving forward now that it's kind of, we've seen it do a little bit more as far as results go?
Well, you know, it's one of those decks where it's not really easy for your opponent to sideboard specific stuff for you. They can bring in the cards that are sort of generally speaking good against control decks, but it's not like you have any specific weakness to something. So I think the deck's are pretty flexible and pretty powerful. I think it has a lot of the same problems that Jund or Naya Ramp can have on occasion, which is just what does your deck look like when you don't have Farseek. I think that's a systemic issue with the deck. But what I like about it a fair bit is there's no sideboard haymakers for you. It's just kind of powerful stuff. You have a bunch of different angles. There's no particular card you're soft to. Certainly certain draws you can be soft to. But I expect this. I mean, we've seen ban control decks before. This is not unheard of territory for the metagame. So I expect this to just be another deck that's, you know, 8 to 10% of every tournament you show up to, you know?
We do see the Detention Sphere on the Olivia. And is everybody coming in? Dun 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 da da. Nope.
Probably safe. Probably pretty safe.
I feel like this time it is safe. We'll see if Erik does agree with us. He's been conservative thus far.
Yep.
They are in extra turns here, it looks like. Yeah, it's turn 0 right now. So
this will be a heartbreaking draw for Erik.
Yeah, yeah. With how far ahead he is. Just want to get this one over with. There's your trades. Beast tokens will trade with each other. Blackstone Smiter will trade with the front half of a Thractus. Angels will deal some damage. Garrick is going up to get a Beast token in. There's a Smiter. They're just going to pass the turn back. I believe it's going to knock Andrew down to 3. And that is a handshake, as it does show those 3 Rakdos returns. So Erik Larson with Band Control is going to beat Andrew Tenjum, playing Jun 2 games to 1. Going to move on to 3-0 of our 10-round tournament here in Milwaukee. Long way to go.